Before the Ukraine invasion, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson had said, if Ukraine is endangered, the shock will echo around the world, and those echoes will be heard in East Asia, will be heard in Taiwan. President Xi Jinping has also vowed to reunify mainland China with self-ruled Taiwan. More notably, on the day Russia invaded Ukraine, 9 Chinese aircrafts entered Taiwan's air defense zone the same day, which has escalated the tensions between both the nations. USA is also interested in making friends with enemy of their enemy China, in name of democracy. Speaker Nancy Pelosi recently visited Taiwan, and guess how China reacted? By firing missiles to Taiwan's coast and conducting military exercises. This raises a very important question. Would the US actually intervene if China starts an invasion on Taiwan? History tells us that the US has intervened in the past in East Asia, like during World War II, and from Chinese point of view, they totally refused to back up from triggering another world war. On 19 September 2020, 2 days earlier to a senior US State Department official visited Taiwan with the purpose of strengthening the bilateral relationship, China's People's Liberation Army released a propaganda video. In this video, it is shown that nuclear-capable China's H-6 bombers are carrying out an attack on a US Air Force base, which is located on the US Pacific island of Guam. The island of Guam is home to major US military facilities, including the airbase. This airbase is extremely important for the US because in the case of any conflict in the Asia-Pacific region, the location of the Air Force becomes cardinal. Interestingly, China condemned the visit, and in retaliation, they released this propaganda video. To understand the relationship between China and Taiwan and how it stands today, we need to delve a little into the shared history of China and Taiwan. If we trace back the history of Taiwan, Taiwan remained independent of China since long. Taiwan is located just 130 kilometers away from mainland China, and it was not of much interest for Chinese emperors or the European colonists. This changed after the discovery of 2 things in Taiwan: sulfur, which was used as gunpowder, and gold. Chasing the gold, Dutch colonizers quickly established control over Taiwan. While the Dutch were controlling Taiwan, 2 dynasties were fighting for the control over China. In 1644, the Ming dynasty, which had control all over mainland China, was defeated by the Qing dynasty. Hence, they seized the island of Taiwan from the Dutch and established their authority over the island. But this was about to change after 30 to 40 years. In 1683, the Qing dynasty from the mainland invaded Taiwan. That led to the official integration of Taiwan, and for the next 200 years or so, Taiwan officially remained a part of the mainland China under the Chinese Empire. However, in 1885, the Qing dynasty lost to Japan and gave the sovereignty over Taiwan to Japan. The island of Taiwan remained under the control of Imperial Japan till 1945. While the Japanese were in control of Taiwan, there were political changes in mainland China. The Chinese had started protesting against the monarchy of Qing dynasty. As a result of these protests, the Qing dynasty fell in 1912. And the Chinese Nationalist Party that was leading this revolution established the Republic of China. But in 1946, civil war broke out in China. On one hand was the Chinese Nationalist Party of Chiang Kai-shek. On the other hand were the communists led by Mao Zedong. In 1949, the communists were victorious, thus establishing the People's Republic of China, PRC, much like the Ming forces had to flee to mainland China in 1662. After their defeat, the Chinese Nationalist Party fled to the island of Taiwan. There, Chiang Kai-shek established a government in exile. In 1949, on one hand, there was China being ruled by the communists, and on the other side, there was Taiwan ruled by Chinese Nationalist Party. Mao Zedong came up with the One China policy, where China believes that there is only one legitimate Chinese government in the world, and that is the government of the People's Republic of China. He also insisted that under the One China principle, Taiwan is an inalienable part of China which will be reunified one day with China, either by peaceful means or by force if necessary. Now, even though Taiwan was, in many ways, created by the people who escaped China, the Taiwanese people have now developed an independent identity. A survey conducted in 2019 shows that around 66% of adults in Taiwan identify themselves as Taiwanese, and people who identify themselves solely as Chinese are 4%. And one of the major reasons that cemented this independent identity is democracy. Taiwan made a transition to democracy in the 1990s, and Taiwanese people don't want to lose this democracy by merging with China. Moreover, many Taiwanese believe that Taiwan is a separate country. China's view about Taiwan has not changed in over 70 years. China believes that Taiwan is a part of China, and this view of China has been bolstered under the administration of Xi Jinping. In 2021, Xi Jinping gave a speech on the occasion of 100th anniversary of founding of Chinese Communist Party. One paragraph of this speech was dedicated to Taiwan. He said that realizing China's complete reunification is a historic mission and an unshakable commitment of the Communist Party of China. He also said that he would take a resolute action against Taiwan's independence. And as a result, Taiwan has not yet formally declared independence because they fear that if they do that, China would invoke its anti-secession law of 2005. This law states that if Taiwan tries to declare independence, China can forcefully invade it. Basically, this is a legal declaration that Xi Jinping will have to invade Taiwan if Taiwan tries to declare independence. When two high-level US officials visited Taiwan in August and September last year, China retaliated even further. They sent numerous Chinese fighter planes that have violated the Taiwan's airspace, and their aim was just to display a sign of aggression to Taiwan. Since last year, US forces are secretly training Taiwanese soldiers to counter against the looming Chinese invasions. Moreover, Taiwan is spending billions of dollars to acquire advanced military hardware from the US. However, it must be noted that China spends about 25 times more on its military than Taiwan. So if China ever decides to invade Taiwan, it could easily overpower Taiwanese defense systems. With Taiwan adopting One China policy, they also abrogated the 1955 Mutual Defense Treaty. However, soon after, the US Congress passed the Taiwan Relations Act that permitted US to provide Taiwan with support in case of an attack on Taiwan. This policy was reiterated recently by the US when Joe Biden was asked in October 2021 whether the US would help Taiwan. Biden responded, "Yes, we have a commitment to do that." If he asks why America would do that, the reason behind this is reputation. If US does not protect Taiwan, then US would not be able to prove to the South Asian countries like Japan and South Korea that its protection is guaranteed. Now, if US is drawn into the war with China, we would remember it would mean two nuclear-armed nations would come face to face in an armed conflict, and nobody knows what would it eventually lead to. Moreover, if China attacks Taiwan, what is the guarantee that China would stop at that? We must note that China has many border issues with many countries in Southeast Asia. As Russian forces expand their invasion of Ukraine, leaders in both China and Taiwan are closely watching the situation and how the Western governments are responding in such a situation, because their response could predict the future of what could happen between China and Taiwan.